All right, so today we're going to round out and finish up the top 5 series. We're going to be looking at a tool that I use in almost every penetration test called DNSRecon. So what is DNSRecon? It's essentially a tool that allows you to perform DNS and domain enumeration, including reverse lookups on a given IP range or a given domain. It's useful for recon, and it's a good initial use type tool, you know, when you first start the engagement. So why is it in my top 5? Well, we almost always find good targets when we use it. DNS is one of the most misconfigured services there are, so you're usually going to find something or problem with, you know, maybe some devices that show up in a record that shouldn't. And also the output is, you know, natively GREP friendly, so you don't have to do a lot of manipulation to the output data. So let's go and jump right into it. All right, so I'm right at my Kali screen here. And what we're going to be doing is just kind of going through the process of running it. And I'm just going to use Yahoo as my target here. And the way we launch it is we just give it we start off with the domain. Just going to use yahoo.com. And as you can see, it enumerates, you know, public DNS records, and we can look at these and kind of pick ranges that we want to try to dig a little bit further into. For example, I'm going to start with this 98, 138, 219 range here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that IP address. Okay. And I'm going to go back and start DNSRecon over again. And this time, instead of giving it -D, I'm going to give it -R because I want to give it a range of IPs. And I'm going to paste, you know, what we had there. And, you know, I'm just going to go from 1 to 254 instead of the one that was actually there. And this, another good reason for this, another good usage for it, is you kind of get an idea of if some of these IPs in this range may not even belong to Yahoo. But anyway, when we run it, and you can see it's going through and saying it's performing a reverse lookup here, we'll see all these records that come back, and these are definitely what we consider to be Yahoo devices because they all end in yahoo.com. Now, one of the first rules is you obviously want to write this stuff to a file, so I'm just going to write it right out to a file. We'll just call it Yahoo DNS. And what these are, and now we can look at that file. These are devices or things that are, you know, probably owned by Yahoo. Now, what we might do is take out and pull out just the things that matter to us. You know, like, for example, the IP addresses, perhaps, maybe even the fully qualified domain names. But the point is now we got all these devices that we can look through. And let's say you find something, you know, that's an interesting string, and you want to see if there's more of those, like, you know, EIP1. Don't know what that is, but, you know, maybe there's a lot of those devices. So now I can take that and grep for, and then I can see all those devices, right? If there's another string, like, you know, if we see any one, which is probably some, you know, a network interface, well, we can grep for that and see if there's any more of those. And you can see there's a lot of those, right? So now, you know, this is probably VLAN 147. So we might look to see where else VLAN 147 shows up, right? So we could grep for that. Right? And we can see all those. So the point is this is public information. These are public DNS records. And now we can look through this offline without actually having to go out and communicate with Yahoo, because we're just looking at public DNS. So as kind of a first round, this is something that we always start with, one of the things that we start with, because again, looking at it, you know, from the very first screening here, we end up with several different IP blocks and IP ranges that we will have to go through this enumeration process on. And ideally, eventually you move on, you take these, you end up writing them into what we would call files that you can then input to Nmap or something like that and do scanning. So that is why DNSRecon is absolutely one of my top tools that we use, and you should actually play around with it. Check your own domain with it. You might be surprised at the things that you find facing the internet, or things that you see visible out there via your public DNS records. Usually when we do this for customers, we find, and they find, that some of the things that they show in their DNS records just shouldn't be there. All right. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next video.